All right, we are back here on the Ice Guys show, Saturday, May 7th. Obviously, serves me right. That's what I get for playing NHL highlights. It's what I get for, I guess, trying to make the show better. That's the way things work, unfortunately, around here. But nevertheless, we are back on the Ice Guys show. Travis White, Vito with us. Let's get into Saturday's games. We have some games to break down. We will start with the Florida Panthers taking on the Washington Capitals. We've got Florida minus 190, road favorites. Game 3, series tied 1-1. Total 6.5 here in this game. First things we want to note with the Capitals is Tom Wilson still out and Ilya Samsonov in as the starting goaltender for the first time in this series for Washington. Now he replaced Vitek Vanacek in Game 2. Obviously, that was a really rough game for Vitek Vanacek. I mean, Florida was getting heavily outshot at one point in that game, and yet still Florida had the lead, and it was just not a great game from him in net, although the whole team just made things too easy for Florida. When you allow Florida to set up in the offensive zone, pass the puck around, that's when they're very dangerous, and we saw that from the Panthers in the Game 2 victory. Now, is this a series where Florida, who we think is the superior team, now after losing Game 1, bouncing back in Game 2, do they just take over? And do they dominate and win this game and take over this series? It's definitely a possibility. I don't know if I want to lay minus 190, though, necessarily with the Panthers here. I think they win, but I'm not ready to do that. I will go instead with the team total here for the Florida Panthers. It's over 3.5 at minus 138 is about the best price I can find with that. Over 3.5 Florida, minus 138. I like that. I'd rather go with the team total rather than the reg line or the money line for that matter on the Panthers. Asking them to get 4 goals, I think that's something they can do. And I'm going to be a glutton for punishment because I had over 6.5 in the first 2 games of this series, you guys. You know what the game was? 5-1 or 4-2. It fell a goal short. The second game, 5-1. And there was no goals in the third period because Washington knew they were done, and Florida just put it on cruise control, parked the fucking bus, and the bus ran me over because I had over 6.5 in that game in Game 2. I was not happy. So I'm going to go back to the well, though, because I think Washington, there's going to be aggressiveness from them to bounce back. And I think for Florida, we've got Washington now. We got that first win. We think we're the better team in this series. Let's go after it, try to bury them. So I think you get offensive aggressiveness from both teams. No sitting back, no waiting to get into this game necessarily. I like the first period as well, both teams to score. I think that's something you can definitely see happen here in this game. So 3 bets, Florida team total, over 3.5, over 6.5, minus 130 for the full game. And I'm going to take a shot at plus 150 with that, both teams to score in the first period. It's something I cashed with a couple of times here in these playoffs. Had Nashville, Colorado in Game 2, actually. Both teams to score in the first. It got there. So I think that's always a good value bet, especially when you've got 2 capable offensive teams like that and 2 shaky at times defensive teams, especially for Washington. Travis, what do you like here? Game 3, Florida, Washington.
Yeah, I agree with you. The value of Florida to win, not great. Maybe by 2. I wouldn't mind that. And the same thing you were saying, the 5-1 game the other day, I had the over as well. And you're just like waiting, like, updating my phone, like, hey, where's that next goal? Where's that next goal? It never came. I do like that. They can score in bunches. It's just amazing. Some of the guys like Duclair, Bennett, just the guys, the depth they have. And if they're on a roll, we've seen it so many times before. And it's like every goal they score is like a highlight reel too. So I think they're going to take over in terms of the series. I think the Game 1 was a surprise to everyone, which a lot of the Game 1s have been this year, same as the Leafs, when they pumped Tampa. So I think things are maybe settling down a bit, and we're going to see more of the favorites starting to take over.
All right, so like in Florida, but more. By the way, Brian in our chat's got a great value bet if you like Florida. A couple books have this: Florida Panthers and over 5.5 at like plus 145. He got it at. It's down to like plus 120 in some spots. So that's Florida to win and over 5.5 goals in the game at a plus price. That is something I could sign up for. That's a good find, Brian. And we've mentioned that a few times this year. Those combination bets, the side and the game total. That could be a way to attack it rather than the minus 190. It's just pair it with a 5, and you get 5.5 with that game total instead of 6.5. So not a bad look there at a plus price. Florida Panthers and over 5.5. Vito, what do you like?
Yeah, well, not involved with this game officially at the moment. That's 6.5. Also, I don't know about that. Well, but overall, talking about this series, I mean, Washington didn't play bad in Florida. I think Washington had a very great performance, especially game one. They outplayed. I mean, Florida. Okay, Florida was not ready. Game second, actually, Washington also was great for like first 30, 35 minutes. You know, Oshie hit the post early in the game, and first period everybody waited like Florida will explode, but it was only Florida scored later. But overall, Washington also didn't play bad that first period. So Washington overall is a veteran team, and I mean Florida, if they will keep taking penalties, you know, and like their new team in the playoffs, they don't have that big experience, you know, and the coach also have only been with Minnesota Wild and only with Panthers now, Andrew Brunette, you know, so
Andrew
also
Brunette, yep.
Not that deep playoff experience for him, you know, so we need to see if this Florida team really stops taking penalties, because, you know, there's some flat spots, there is some mistakes, there is a lot of turnovers, you know, one on breakaways and scoring. I mean, overall, that Washington has great scoring chances, and Bob is also playing well. So I understand why. Well, here in this game, it's either you take Washington money line, I think, and if it ends in a draw, then you are on the right side, you know, or other value is with Panthers regulation. If you like Panthers regulation, I think Panthers in regulation is way to go, you know, but overall, if it ends in draw, then Capitals, obviously, money line is the right side. So I have not decided yet on this game, and I think I will stay away because it's playoffs, you know, and everything, it's hard to guess a winner. But yeah, for me, this is a stay away.
All right, stay away. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, Western Conference, first round, game 3. This is the second game today, the late afternoon game. Colorado Avalanche, Nashville Predators. Colorado minus 240, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. By the way, in terms of props, I know there's some people that are wondering. I forgot to mention them in the last game that we talked about, but I'm basically sticking with a lot of the same, you know, Connor Sheary for Washington because he's playing up the lineup. I like player props where the guy is moving up the lineup, and Travis, I've mentioned that a lot on this show. The players moving up from the third line to the second line or third line to the top line, those are great player prop bets because that player's not priced the same way his line mates are, and you get a whole lot more value. So those are good situations. For Florida, I'd probably consider, I'd come back to Mason Marchment again. I mean, Huberdeau and Verhaeghe, Barkov, Duclair, Giroux, the big guns, Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, they're fine, but Mason Marchment's always that undervalued guy. And at playoff time, look, he scored the other night. He seems to show up. His game has gotten so much better. He's got a lot more skill to his game than his old man, right? Brian Marchment back in the day. There's no question about that. And Mason's done a great job here for Florida. I think he's a good goal scorer prop there. As far as this game goes, I'm actually tempted.
Wilson is out, and Wilson is not back in. Wilson is still out.
He's out.
Case.
Yeah.
You didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So that's important.
I think I did mention it, but yeah, we'll reinforce it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Tom Wilson out for the Capitals. Yeah. I'm actually going to take a small shot here today with this Nashville team. They got to win. If they're going to win a game, this is the game. I find if they don't win today, they're getting their ass swept. You know, it's as simple as that, as far as I'm concerned. But this is a spot for them where I think you're going to get their all. They're going to be bolstered. Say what you will about, you know, they're outmanned the series. The only reason they were in game 2 is Connor Ingram played like Connor Brodeur. All right, I said that on Twitter. It was Connor Brodeur. It was not Connor Ingram the other night. That was spectacular. He was great. Now he's got to try to do it again. But I think Nashville's got to step it up. At home, they're going to get last line change. I don't know if that's going to matter. I don't know if John Hines is not the second coming of Scotty Bowman. All right, that's not him as a head coach as far as I'm concerned. This guy has not been someone that I've been overly enthralled with or impressed with from a coaching standpoint. But at least now you get last line change. That helps. You get the home crowd on your side, and they are pretty wild at Bridgestone Arena. Nashville does have a good home playoff environment. So I'd expect Nashville to bring their absolute best here. And like I said, if they're going to win one game in this series, I think it's probably today back home. I would consider Nashville at the big price. I think it's worth a couple bucks because I think certainly they're going to come away from game 1 and say, look, we did get dominated in terms of shots and possession, but we know we've got a better game in us, especially at home. So I think they've got a chance here. I think they're potentially a live home underdog in this game. Yeah, team total over 2.5. I think you could maybe go with that for Nashville. It's cheap. I would expect their absolute best in this game, knowing they can't go down 3-0 in this series. And I'll say this about Colorado, you guys. On the road, they've been a little susceptible. They've actually lost 4 straight road games, to end the regular season coming into today. So that's another thing I looked at. They've really, really had a tough time winning in Nashville, believe it or not, in recent years. So I don't think this is a terrible take with Nashville here at getting a plus 200 price. They know they've got to get this one if they're going to make this a series. And I think you get the absolute best out of Nashville. So I think the Preds here, little team total over 2.5 as well, I'm interested in. And I got to think, too, the dam might burst on Ingram a little bit. Like Colorado might dent him, but I think Nashville at home is going to score as well. Nashville at home is usually pretty good to score 3-4 goals. And even though it's not easy against Colorado, and Darcy Kemper is playing very well this year, but I think they can score some. Colorado will. I like the full game over as well, along with those 2 Nashville looks, the money line and the team total. All right, Travis, what do you think? Game 3, Avs, Preds.
Yeah, this would be one I'd probably just watch and enjoy, and maybe go for more so the points, goals, assists for prop bets for the Colorado team. Looking for them to dominate. Like I don't know. I think I said this one in 5, so I understand your thought process. You got to think Nashville, gets some sort of motivation being at home and maybe get some energy there. But I think we all know, it's not going to be a series. But if they get lucky with one, I don't think it would surprise anyone. But yeah, I would probably just like the prop bets and see who can rack it up for the Avs.
Yeah, definitely. Prop bets, certainly. I'm going to stick with Big Val. He's been the meal ticket for me in these playoffs. Valeri Nichushkin, ever since they put him on the top line for the Avalanche, he has been just producing, goal scoring goals, points, you name it, playing with McKinnon and Rantanen. I think that's a good look. I think Lehkonen might eventually find the back of the net. He's had some chances. He's getting second-line minutes with Kadri and Landeskog, and he's had 3 shots on goal in the first 2 games of this series, 6 total. Didn't have a goal the other night, but man, did he have chances galore. So Arturi Lehkonen, which was a nice find from the Montreal Canadiens, nice addition at the deadline by the Avalanche, and Joe Sakic bringing him in there. So good stuff there. Every time I say Joe Sakic's name, I think of Bob Cole, Salt Lake City, 2002 Winter Olympics. Score, Gio! And he said, Gio Sakic scores that big goal. Love it. Great memory there. That was. But I always think of Bob Cole when I mentioned Joe Sakic and that goal he scored in Salt Lake City, 20 years ago. Can't believe it. 20 years ago already. Vito, what do you think here? Colorado, Nashville.
Yeah, well, you say something similar like Boston yesterday needed, that win. So here, more or less, those are still NHL teams. So same situation. Nashville needs the win here. And I think that value, of course, if we talk about the value, it's with Nashville, but value doesn't always bring you the money, And then the winning ticket brings you the money. So I have also no bets on this game, to be honest. But Avalanche, well, obviously the first road game, I don't know what to await from them. I don't know, actually. Hard to say how's the game going to go. I mean, I think Nashville should push it, Nashville at home should get the momentum. I mean, that crowd sometimes go wild. People crazy down there, So, and it's a first playoff game. So let's see what I think Nashville in the first period will be maybe even better than Colorado. But overall, I think the whole 60 could be too hard to handle, just the Colorado depth, and the pressure all the time. So, yeah, I need to see how the game goes. Maybe some live betting could be a great way here. So maybe a slow start and then just jump on some over 4.5 or 3.5 or whatever. Those are, I think, great because we see those goalies getting pulled out all the time. So yeah, overall, nothing official on this game as well.
All right. By the way, we got guys moving up the lineup. Nashville, second line. I'm looking at it right now, the depth charts and the current line combinations. Johansson could be centering Eli Tolvanen and Luke Kunin tonight or this afternoon. Kunin and Tolvanen, target them maybe for props. They're going to be on the second line. They're going to get opportunities. Tolvanen's going to be on the second power play unit as well for the Predators tonight or this afternoon. So, Tolvanen and Kunin, definitely maybe value prop looks because they're both going to be on that second line for the Nashville Predators with Johansson this afternoon. All right, New York Rangers, Pittsburgh Penguins. These next two games are tonight. We go to Pittsburgh for Game 3. Series tied 1-1. Rangers minus 120 road favorites. Total in this one currently is 6 across the board. To the surprise of me a little bit, and to many, this series, both games have gone over the total. Now does that trend change a little bit here? I don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Louis Domingue, with the quote of a lifetime after winning Game 1 in overtime, with the spicy pork and broccoli, not good. I mean, that was absolutely hysterical. What a legend he is with that kind of quote. But nevertheless, he overcame that and any issues he had following that meal to come in there and lead Pittsburgh to victory. He played well. He actually played well in Game 2, even though the Rangers won. I mean, that actually could have been worse if not for Louis Domingue. So, and this is a guy that's played in Arizona, Tampa Bay. He's had a lot of NHL games under his belt. So he's not some rookie or some fish out of water here. He's played in the NHL quite a bit. So, when you look at it here, it's definitely a guy that I think can go in there and play relatively well. I like the Rangers in the series. I still like the Rangers in the series. I bet them in the series and in Game 1 and in Game 2 for that matter. And I lean to them here. I don't know if I'll take them here, though, because I think Pittsburgh back home, the thing that bothers me is, and I lean to the over again, even though I think we're due maybe to see a game be low scoring in this series. And I've said this repeatedly about this series so far. The Rangers haven't been able to defend Sidney Crosby's line. They have not been able to defend Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel, and Brian Rust. That line has done a tap dance all over the Rangers. And even in Game 2, it was that line doing the damage for the Pittsburgh Penguins, even though the Rangers won that game. They've got to do something to get that line in check, the Rangers, or else they're still very much a threat to lose this series against Pittsburgh. I still think the Rangers are an overall a little bit with the additions of Andrew Kopp and Vetrano at the deadline, 2 great additions. They're a little deeper. I like their blue line in the improvement. I certainly think they got the better goalie in Igor Shesterkin, but they are having a hard time keeping the top line of the Pittsburgh Penguins neutralized, and that could end up biting them in the ass at the end of this series when it's all said and done. So this game I'm probably going to stay off and maybe look to bet live, but I lean Rangers and I lean over with this game a little bit. Travis, how about you? New York, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know what? I like this. I feel like this is going to go into overtime again. I'd like the draw there. I think it's it's going to be closer. The game, especially at home with Pittsburgh, Shesterkin, unreal goalie. But I think it's going to be another close one. Even like the first game, watching it early, you thought, oh wow, the Rangers they're going to dominate, and then Pittsburgh just keeps coming. Especially that Crosby line, the plays he's been making. It's like, does this guy ever age? You think when you think he's out, when you think he's like too old, or there's other better players, he always comes to perform. So
the backhand sauce in Game 1 to Gensel for the 2-2 goal. My gosh, what a fucking goal! What a play!
Like he's made careers for Gensel and Rust. It's he should get part of their paycheck. But yeah, I like this. I like another close one. I like it going into overtime.
Yeah, you aren't going to tell me. I'm not going to say to anybody the draw is a bad consideration in this series. I think it's going to, especially after 5-2. I think now this is an important game. Someone's going to go up 2-1, change of venue. I could see this being pretty closely contested, tight 1-goal game. Someone pull. I think the draw could be live. Good call there, I think, with that. Vito, what do you think here? Rangers, Penguins.
Yeah, I think about that Crosby thing, and he's making players good. I would mention another one, Kunitz. Before, I also played with Crosby, and he was making him a very great player, and Kunitz is also, well, it was also the same thing, just playing with Crosby, you just play unbelievable because he's so great, and overall, about this series, I think, for the Rangers, the problem, they're good in power play. I mean, Panarin also didn't have the best game. Well, he made some great plays as offensive player, but also he was on both times when he got scored on the last game. But another thing about Rangers, I think they cannot play a whole 60 minutes, and they somehow lose the momentum quickly. They have that momentum and then they give it away, and just they cannot play a whole 60 minutes. They have periods where they just simply don't show up, And Shesterkin is unbelievable good, and I don't think anyone likes to play against a good goalie. It's just so frustrating when a goalie is good. You cannot score on him and you just get in your head, and. And sometimes he just gets it's hard for you. But in this spot, actually, I know that Pittsburgh is playing a third stringer goalie and all that things, but overall, if you just look, Pittsburgh was just much better. And getting them as an underdogs, I think they're better 5-5. I mean, I think Rangers are only better with the special teams, and well, I just don't want to play. I think Rangers is good because it's the playoffs, and they remind me kind of Islanders. They are very good. They can get outshotted, but they will win the game. So because of how good they are, like structurally, and coach is good. But in this spot, I like Penguins, and I just took them on the money line. I think they here on the Friday night. I think in the regular time at the evening at 7 p.m. in their own arena, first playoff game. I just think these vets will come out ready. Let's the Crosby in the first center. Then we have Malkin. Then we have Jeff Carter in the third line. They are deep, Hopefully my buddy Teddy Bluger stands up as well, So he plays in the fourth line.
I was waiting for the Teddy Bluger reference. I mean, every time we talk Pittsburgh, Vito, you're throwing out and name dropping Teddy Bluger because you played with him. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, but he's good in PK. They're actually struggling, to be honest. A little bit in PK. That's the problem for Pittsburgh now. We're bringing up, these players, and now I can add, PK is the struggle. Rangers are playing very well in power play. You cannot give them power plays, and that will be a problem. So, but yeah, give me Penguins in this spot, on the money line.
All right, like in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's got that maybe like Toronto, Tampa Bay, right? Zigzag theory, type of feel to it. Back and forth. You just bet the team that lost the previous game. A lot of times NBA playoffs, you see that a lot. The zigzag theory in a competitive series, you just bet the team that lost the last game, and oftentimes you do well. Vito going to go to that well here tonight with the Pittsburgh Penguins, plus 100 as they look to bounce back after losing game 2. All right, final game here for Saturday's slate in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Calgary Flames, Dallas Stars. We've got Calgary minus 165, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Oh, by the way, Andrew Kopp Rangers. That's my big prop for that last game. I mean, it's just ride Andrew. Andrew Kopp is getting more value with his props than Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, some of those other Rangers. And Kopp's producing every bit as much here in the playoffs. He's been great. I think Andrew Kopp for the Rangers continues to be a good prop bet. I go with Raquel for Pittsburgh, especially back home. I think Rickard Raquel might get going a little bit for them, getting him from Anaheim, of course, at the deadline. This game, how about this game is going to, it's like watching paint dry. So far, the first 2 games of this series put you to sleep a little bit. And Dallas lulled Calgary to sleep in game 3, no question. It's really been both first 2 games. Calgary gets the first goal. They park the bus. They sit on it. They defend, and they close it out. Dallas got the first goal in game 2. They sat on that lead, and they ended up closing it out. So first goal is going to be very important. Does anybody have the balls to take over 5.5 tonight with Calgary and Dallas? I feel like I want to take under. But at the same time, I know the moment I hit the confirm button and lock that in, it's going to be 6-5 or some shit tonight. I mean, that's sometimes it just feels so like it's so freaking obvious that this game should be another tight 1-0, 2-1 type of game, right? After the first 2 games, it doesn't feel like these 2 teams are going to engage in some kind of high scoring hockey at any point. Dallas wants to play tight, low scoring games because they say they don't want to open it up against this Calgary team because they don't think they can match them 4 lines of scoring. But at the same time, Daryl Sutter is happier than a pig in shit for playing these low-scoring hockey games. He loves them at playoff time. He's more. They asked him, "Are you concerned with the lack of production? 1 goal in 2 games?" He said, "No, it's playoff hockey. It's fine." He's more. He's okay with losing a tight game 2 than he is concerned about. Oh, we're not scoring a lot so far in this year. He loves these low-scoring games. Daryl Sutter. So I don't really know if things are going to change. It just feels like every game is going to be destined for 2-1, 3-1, not to mention Markstrom and Ottinger. The 2 goalies in this series have played very well so far. So I'm not betting the total, but I certainly don't want to see an over. I wouldn't bet an over until I actually see one happen, and I'm not sure we will. I've got 2 bets here. I've got Calgary in regulation, which you can get obviously at a better price, and I've got the draw in this game. And it's a bigger bet on Calgary in regulation and a smaller bet on the draw. It's something I've done in this series so far in the first 2 games, where if Calgary in regulation wins, I'm profitable. If the draw cashes, I'm also profitable because obviously it's a big plus price on that. So that's my mindset here. Calgary in regulation, I make money on this game. If the draw cashes instead, I make money on this game still. The only way I lose is Dallas in regulation. Now, that's how I lost in game 2. but I don't think that's going to happen tonight. I think Calgary will step it up on the road. They are a capable road team. They're actually a very good road team, Calgary. 25-12, 3-1 on the road. They've only got one road win less than they have home wins, the Calgary Flames. So they can go on the road and get it done. I think they will, but I'll sprinkle on the draw as well, just in case we get overtime. And in a game where both games have been 1-goal games late, it's plausible we could see this game go to OT. So Calgary in regulation for me, a little bit bigger bet on that. You can get Calgary in regulation currently at around plus 115, plus 110. Pretty good price on Calgary in regulation. And I'm also going to go with the draw as well for a smaller bet here, which is around plus 300 for the draw with Calgary and Dallas. Travis, what do you think here, Flames and Stars?
I'm still trying to get a read on this series. I thought the Kachuk line would be more like the regular season line, putting up some numbers. I know how Sutter coaches, how he likes his teams playing, but it's not like, they were LA when they won their first cup, when they, didn't have a top scoring line that like dominated in the regular season. So I'm a little weary of what to think about this, if they're going to break through and score, or if it's just going to be, like you said, these 2-1, 1-0 close games the whole time. Because I think the advantage is to Dallas, the longer it stays lower. It'll actually keep them in. If those guys don't break through, Dallas might have a chance in this series, which I didn't think they had. I thought they had 0 at the start. So yeah, I'm a little, I want to watch a little more of this series and see, okay, is it going to stay consistent, or are we going to have some offensive explosion output?
And what are we going to get from Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin? Because I know I like Robertson and Hintz, and I like Pavelski. Pavelski got the big goal for Dallas in games. He always shows up, that guy, in big playoff games, going back to San Jose. But Jamie Benn couldn't find him with a telescope on the ice in game 1. And then all of a sudden in game 2, he's throwing his weight around. He's mixing it up in scrums. Where is that emotional connection in a game for Jamie Benn, one game to the next? Why do I only get it in spurts? Why do I only get it in one game here and the next game can't find the guy? That's what's frustrating. When Jamie Benn's locked in and he's got that physical component going and he's dialed in and he's trying to ruffle some feathers, that's when he's good. And in some games, you don't get that at all from him. It's got to be frustrating for seeing that, but it's kind of been that way for him the last couple of years. Vito, what do you think here, Flame Stars?
Yeah, well, I think now Stars being at home, they will be able to match up the lines how they want, because really, if we look at this series, I think both teams have one very good line, I mean, we know who is Flames, Gaudreau, Tkachuk, and Lindholm, and then we have Hintz, Pavelski, and Robertson, and those lines don't play each other, and just the rest of the team trying to shut down those lines, if you just look, Seguin and Ben just trying to shut down that top line, and then we look, Flames are not better now at the moment. Backlund, Toffoli, they're not really scoring. They are also playing just tough hockey, getting in the face. So very tough series here, but what I like in this spot is I will agree with Ian here. I have taken Flames in regulation. I just think we have seen these first games, the road teams winning, like yesterday, Minnesota. It's not a zigzagging. I think it's just teams are somehow flat out for that first game, at home, and they're not ready, and then they step up for the next one. So in this spot, I think that's what we're going to see. I think Flames, after a lose here, will definitely on the road will be more sharp than Dallas, and I think that we will see like a 4-1 victory for the Flames. So yeah,
wow.
What the Flames need to do, I think they just need to put more bodies to the net. The Oettinger sees the puck too well, so that's what Minnesota started to do. They start to put bodies on the net, so that's what Flames also need to do, more bodies on the net, so they cover that shots. No, there's some tip-ins and so on, so that's what they need to do. So hopefully we see that tonight, and Flames in regulation is my play.
All right, Flames in regulation at a small plus price for Vito in this one. For props, you can go Gaudreau, Tkachuk, Mangiapane if you want. I'm going to stick with the depth guys for Calgary. Dylan Dubé, Blake Coleman. Blake Coleman, I think he's going to score a goal at some point in this series. Hasn't happened yet. Hell, there haven't been many goals, and there's only been one Calgary goal in this series, and Elias Lindholm scored it. So, they got to get some goals from the team first. But I think Dubé and Coleman are both live to score goals for Calgary. Dubé scores goals at playoffs. He's done it in the past. He was good down the stretch of the regular season. We know Blake Coleman can elevate his game at playoff time. Look what he did for Tampa Bay last year. He's one of their best forwards, scored big goals for them. So I like props for Dubé and Coleman for the Calgary Flames. I'd stick to Pavelski, Hintz, and Robertson if I'm going to look at anyone for Dallas. I mean, those are the only three guys I trust to score big-time goals in big-time games, consistently. So those would be the props I'd look at in this game. All right, that's the Saturday card. Great stuff. We with Vito and Travis White for the first time, and Travis might be back at the end of the month on a Saturday, so we'll see if he's able to rejoin us toward the end of May. But great stuff from him on the show. Before we wrap up with best bets, a reminder. We got DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contest. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team, get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older, must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. All right, it's time for best bets to wrap up the show as we always do. Travis, you're up first. What do you like for best bet today?
Oh, putting me on the spot, eh?
I am, yep.
I'm gonna think about this one for a second, but I think I like the Panthers -1.5. I think they're starting to play maybe back to their form after game one, and just the offensive output that they put out there is ridiculous. It seems like every line can score every time they're on the ice. Any line, something happens. And then as long as Bobrovsky can shut the door and maybe get back to his game, top of his game, and then as long as they're not offensively taking too many chances on the back end as a 5-man unit, I think I'd like that -1.5 with Florida.
And great value, win or lose. I mean, -1.5 plus 125 with the Florida Panthers on the puck line. So a nice solid plus price. Panthers puck line. Let's get that Panther sound going. Whew, whew, whew. There we go. Little Panther for you. I love doing that. Panthers -1.5 plus 125 on the puck line for Travis White, his first ever and Ice Guy's best bet. Vito, best bet.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna see this trend continuing in this game, where the visiting team will come and will be more ready to play. So Flames in regulation against Dallas Stars.
All right, Calgary Flames in regulation at a +115 price against the Dallas Stars for Vito with his best bet. And my best bet for this card, it's also going to be the actually I'm going to go with the early game. For those podcast listeners, I'm going to go with one of the later game picks. I'll go with Colorado Nashville over 6.5. I like that. I think it's going to be difficult for Ingram to duplicate game 2. And now Colorado's got a little bit better idea what to expect. I think Colorado finds the back of the net. I think Nashville will at home as well. Nashville's been lighting it up offensively at Bridgestone Arena. They know they have to if they want to get back in this series. So I'm going to go with that for my best bet for this Saturday card. We split yesterday lost with the Blues wild over, but we won with the Oilers. We'll see if we can get this one to the win column. Colorado, Nashville, over 6.5, -105. That's going to be my best bet for this Saturday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys Show. We thank our special guest, Travis White, for joining us. We'll see if we can get him back later in the playoffs. A reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. download the Ice Guys podcast, rather. I already said that. Download the Ice Guys podcast because if you can't watch the show live, it's 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download that podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Vito, for our special guest, Travis White, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys. It'll be me, it'll be Vito, and it'll be Josh Eunice, special guest, joining us tomorrow on the Sunday edition of the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.